Hey, business building warrior. What an honor it is that you're going to spend some time with me today. I'm going to reward you for that very handsomely, especially if you're an Amazon seller. If you've been selling any length of time at all, I've got $400 for you, basically. No strings attached. It's coming your way. And you need to hear this episode. If you want to lock that in and see what I'm talking about, you can go over to silentjim.com/reimburse, all one word, right? Reimburse, as in I'm going to reimburse you for that money that you lost. Silentjim.com/reimburse will take you to a sponsor of this show called Gatita. We're about to meet here in just a couple minutes. My good friend, we've corresponded many times, first time guest on the show. He's Yanni Mazur. He's with Gatita, and he's the spokesperson for their company. They're one of the great sponsors that's coming to our conference as well. But they are so confident in their ability to find the funds that Amazon owes you, those reimbursements that you may not even know how to look for and go find for yourself. They're so confident they'll find them. They don't charge anything for their services. They will do a complete audit of your account. They'll go back 18 months and find money that Amazon owes you. And it's free. The first $400 they find for you costs you nothing. After that, they charge a small fee for all the reimbursements that they track down. They're handling tens of billions of dollars of inventory for many sellers around the world, as you're soon going to hear. But it's a great service from a trusted company that's Amazon authorized. We searched through all the companies that are out there that provide these services, and we decided this is the one we wanted to go after and bring them to our conference so that they could represent this new revenue stream, this found money that you didn't even know you had as an Amazon seller. That's what the conversation is going to be about today for the most part. But we also spent some time because Yanni himself has been an Amazon seller. He had a reselling business himself. Actually, the CEO of Gatita, which is the company we're talking about today, he sold his reselling business for a very nice exit. I'm going to talk about that a little bit as well today. So there's going to be some encouragement for you if you're new to Amazon selling. There's going to be some big numbers discussed today. This is what your company could become. We love starting new sellers with Amazon and showing them the basics and giving them a little shove in the right direction. But then over time, it can turn into something truly special. And you're going to hear some stories today like that as well. But the bottom line of the whole point of today's episode is if you've been selling on Amazon for a while and you're not spending a significant amount of time auditing your inventory to make sure that any lost, damaged, destroyed, accidentally misplaced, missing inventory hasn't been reimbursed back to you, Amazon owes you a significant amount of money. Matter of fact, as Yanni will share with us here in just a moment, somewhere around 3% or so of whatever you've sent in, you're probably owed a reimbursement between 1 and 3%. It's typically what they see. And if they go back 18 months, that could be a really nice check coming your way. You don't have to do any work except go over to silentjim.com/reimburse. There's a link in the show notes to that as well. Also, I mentioned our upcoming conference. Odds are, if you've heard any of our episodes in the past few months, you've heard us talk about it, but it's right around the corner. It may be sold out at this point. Our live event is in Orlando, Florida, May 23rd through 25th. The website is three words, theprovenconference.com. If you can't attend live, get live stream. You absolutely must. We've got nearly 50 breakout sessions planned, discussion forums, some of the most successful students from our community sharing exactly what they've done to get to where they are. And they're all proven Amazon course students, all proven Amazon course related strategies. Proven Amazon course, there's a link to it at silentjim.com in the show notes today. That's the flagship training course of our community. That's the heart of this gathering that we're about to have in Orlando. If you can't be there live, please join us by live stream, which also gets you all the event recordings at a fraction of what you'll pay if you wait till after the event is over. So one of the great sponsors that's making that event possible this year, including our generous scholarships, where you don't have to pay anything to be there, which we've given out a good handful of those now because of all the generous sponsors. That's all made possible from the great sponsors like who you're about to meet, Gatita. So come support the event. Be there live if at all possible. If it's not sold out yet, which we are getting very close to that, we're at 750 plus registered right now. We're about to pack out the big room that we have slated, and it's going to be an incredible crowd, a lot of energy, a lot of great ideas. Really, really would love to see you there if at all possible. Can't make it, get live stream. and definitely support the sponsors shown on that page, theprovenconference.com. We've talked to all of them. They've served the members of our community with excellence to some degree or another. They've come with references. We don't just grab anybody. We've told no to a lot of sponsors because we simply said, hey, you've got to show us some people in our community who are thrilled with your services before we can work with you. Not everyone can do that, so we don't work with them. But let's get over and meet Yanni Mazur from Gatita. Truly an honor to have a conversation with him today. And you're going to learn a lot no matter what level you are in your Amazon reselling business, or if you're a private label seller, branded bundles. Get this before we jump over. Branded bundles are huge. He's about to confirm that. We've got some great training modules included in the Proven Amazon course on the strategy he's going to talk about today that led to the CEO of Gatita selling his company for multiple tens of millions of dollars to a public company, all around the branded bundle concept. How cool is that? So enjoy this story today. I think you're going to learn a lot. And one last little favor, if you haven't sent a friend to silentjim.com to check out our podcast lately, that's the best way for us to grow this audience, which continues to grow. Thank you for making us one of the most listened to podcasts in the e-commerce Amazon space. It's because you keep telling your friends about it, and we truly appreciated that. All right, let's jump over, have a great chat with my friend from Gatita. So Yoni, welcome to the show.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Great to see you again. And let me just start off. I probably said it in the intro again, but now that you're here in person, man, thank you for the sponsorship of our upcoming conference. Can't wait to see you here as we're recording just a couple weeks from now. And as the listeners are hearing this, man, it's right around the corner. So thank you for that.
Thank you for having us. Humbled.
Yeah, absolutely. You guys are going to be a big part of helping make that event happen. So much gratitude. But I want to hear what services you provide, Gatita, what you're all about. Give us the background story, who in our listening audience, which I think just about everyone, if they're selling on Amazon, is a potential client for your services. And I love the cost. So hit on those kind of things for me.
Yeah. So a little bit of background, I guess, before I dive into the scope and scale and what we are today. Myself, I'm the co-founder and chief growth officer of Getida. Our Gatita, essentially, we're a technology company, but our mission is actually very narrow and simple. It's to make sure that Amazon sellers get the maximum FBA reimbursements that they're eligible to receive. So typically what happens is when you connect to Gatita, we're able to go back 18 months on all your FBA transactions. So if any of your FBA inventory got lost, damaged, destroyed, disappeared, disposed, or overcharged with fees, our technology catches the issue. But then we have a dedicated service team that opens cases on your behalf. They manage all the back and forth with Amazon, especially if there's paperwork. And then if Amazon finds the missing inventory, for example, that's great. You can sell it, make money, no harm done. That's great. But if they don't, what they're going to apply under their insurance policy, they're going to apply their reimbursement policy. So if they missed, they lost units or damage or whatever happened, and they can't retrieve it, they're just simply going to reimburse you. And only if they reimburse you, only then we charge a fee. So just like that, it's free to join Gatita. It's free to stay with Gatita. There's no subscription. You can cancel at any time. And we only charge a fee based on recovery. So it's purely performance based. So it's it's very comfortable. And it's one of those kind of services or solutions that you don't really have to babysit, because if in the first 30 days we get you a certain amount of refunds, we charge you a fee. But the next 30 days we get you $0 in refunds and reimbursements. You pay us zero in fees. So it's very kind of convenient. That's in a nutshell who we are, what we are. But today we also, I'm proud to say, we started this journey over a decade ago. Gatita today we have a team of 240 employees in 12 countries.
Wow,
Um,
240. I had no idea.
yeah, we're the
That's
largest.
amazing.
Yeah, we're the largest organization in the world today, exclusively focused just on this. This is all we do. We don't provide any other services. We kind of joke and laugh about it and say, if you want to try to talk to us about sport, we don't really know anything. If you want to talk to us about FBA reimbursements, we can talk all day. Yeah, we're also an authorized solution provider by Amazon, which means we're available at the Amazon App Store for the sellers. We're a selling partner. And yeah, it's just that we audit tens of billions of dollars of transactions, FBA transactions every single day. So from the humble beginning of kind of creating a solution for ourselves, it grew up to dimensions of helping Amazon FBA sellers worldwide, tens of billions of dollars under management. And it's been a humbling experience. Thank God it's been a joyful ride.
Yeah, well, it's been a pleasure from the very moment we met you guys and had those initial conversations, and then just as much as it's a no brainer for an Amazon seller to kind of plug you in, it was a no brainer for us to partner up with you guys. You're leading the industry. I had no idea you had that many folks under roof. 240 is no joke in this industry, man. Most people are running on a little shell of 5 or 6 employees, people coming and going. Like, you're all in. You're
Yeah,
good
in
at what
12
you
countries
do.
across the globe, which is
Yeah,
lots of
you're on all
cultures.
Amazon markets then?
Pretty much the ones that kind of matter. We North America and Europe. So everywhere you sell there, we got you covered.
Yeah.
Also Australia, I believe, and yeah, that's it's pretty much the coverage. So it's like 99% of the revenue generated at Amazon globally.
Fantastic. And just to repeat something you already said, it doesn't cost me as an Amazon seller anything to plug you into my account and have you begin monitoring and auditing, maybe is the word that comes to mind for me. Is Amazon giving me all the money they owe me? If not, you guys find it and make sure I get it. And when you do find that money that I never would have found on my own, you keep a piece of it. That's your business model. And I love that model. It's tremendous. And I'm excited to introduce you guys to our community. There'll be a link in the show notes for those who aren't aware of what GETIDA is, what they do. There'll be a link for more information. You can sign up and get a consultation with them and figure out if
I
it's a good
think we
fit.
also created an offer for the community. I think not only that it's free to join, and on top of that, for your community, the first $400 that we're gonna get for you in Amazon ABA refunds and reimbursements will be free. We're not gonna charge you
Oh,
anything.
cool. No
So
fee.
that yeah, so that's a guarantee. So you're gonna, for clicking and trying us out, you'll have $400 extra in your pocket you never had before. And after
Nice.
$400, if you want to leave us, you can leave. If you want to stay, you can stay. Whatever you choose to do, that's fine with us. So it makes it a
Free
bit more
400 bucks.
tangible.
I
Yeah.
love it, man. That's great. Thanks for that generous offer. Yeah. So make sure you use the link. Go to silentjimdotcom. There'll be a link in the show notes that takes you right to that special offer with Gatita, so you can get plugged in and get started. There's no reason not to. Like, let's just play devil's advocate for just a moment. Like, what's the worst case scenario that could happen if I plug in your services? Is Amazon going to be mad at me? Am I putting my account at risk in any way? Have you guys had any issues along those lines?
No, so because we're partnered with Amazon. So if once again you visit the Amazon Sell Central App Store, we're listed there, which means we kind of have a double commitment. We have a commitment to you, the sellers, but above it all, we have a commitment to Amazon to make sure that we're terms of service compliant, data security, private policy. We need to perform on the highest level. So if you're out there in the market shopping for an FBA auditing and reimbursement solution, the first tip I would have is to go to the App Store. Make sure you were just engaging with a company that's authorized instead of a basement operation somewhere in a far country, far away that's kind of under the radar, where they have really much no responsibility to follow the terms and conditions, the rules. So yeah, definitely an important question, and which leads to a tip. We're authorized, so we got to play on the right standard. And if
Right.
you're shopping around, make sure that others do as well.
And that's how I met you in person, was at the Amazon Accelerate event in Seattle. We're all standing there talking to Amazon reps. The people who are trying to fly under the radar don't go to those events. They don't want to be known. You guys are right out there in the open, right in the middle of everything, and you've got great connections at Amazon and authorized to be providing the service you're providing. Because I've been around long enough to know that there were some services that have come and gone and popped up over the years that did cause sellers problems. You've got to be careful who you're giving access to your account.
Yeah, make sure there's no
Amazon.
abuse. A few points on that. Make sure that they have a real team, humans, and not just robots filing claims and just automating everything. That's a big no-no with Amazon, because at the other side, Amazon actually has humans replying to these cases. So if you have
Mhm.
a robot bombing them with cases and they are applying human labor hours to reply to them, and when they reply to you, you don't even read it or just keep bombing them, it's not a good practice. Not just for any other provider, even for the seller. Don't
Mhm.
set and forget it or spray and pray. I'll open all these cases. Like, you have an issue, say, let me open it 10 times. Maybe some Amazon rep will make a mistake and pay me or whatever. It's not a strategy. You got to focus on the data, present it properly. When they reply back to you, you need to understand what they're saying. That's really what it's all about. We're just focus on the math. And the math is to strip it down is we find the -1, we present it to Amazon so they can show us, hey, here's a +1 to make it a 0. It got found or it got discovered somewhere. But if not, it gets paid as a reimbursement. Now it's +1, everything is whole. We move forward and it's all good. And we do it in a very professional way, which makes the whole process very smooth and convenient to Amazon, because Amazon, essentially, they do want to pay the reimbursement for the sellers and make sure that they're whole, because they have a long-term strategy on this, knowing that if the sellers are not whole and their margins are hurt, they're not going to survive. And if they don't survive, that's not a good thing for them. Why? Because at the end of the road, or the North Star, it's the Amazon consumer. And the Amazon
Right.
consumer wants products and want high quality products at competitive pricing and a large catalog. So it all interconnects to their North Star. So they want to make sure the sellers are comfortable using their fulfillment centers and they trust them. Because if they lose that trust, they generate hundreds of billions of dollars of revenue from third party sellers sending their inventory to their fulfillment centers and trusting it with hundreds of billions of dollars worth of inventory. So they're more than willing to help you. But all you gotta do is look at the data set, understand what's going on, present it properly. Don't try to trick the system or go around it or make shortcuts. Just do it right, and they'll take care of you.
Yeah, I
And
completely agree. We see it all day, every day, and I've met and talked with and interacted with the people on that side of the fence at Amazon, whose job it is to throw out all the bad actors all day, every day, and they accidentally make mistakes sometimes, and they don't pay you the money they owed you, or they accidentally temporarily suspend a good guy, and their job is to make those things right as quick as possible. And I think they do a really good job of it. You mentioned you've been around since the eBay days, you personally, and I remember I'm old enough to remember I'd log into eBay some days and my account had vanished and eBay was locked up and shut down for 2, 3 days at a time. It didn't even exist, right? Like those are the Wild West days of e-commerce compared to that. Amazon's a cakewalk to deal with and work with. And like you said, they want to make things right when they've made a mistake. And using a reliable service to take this headache off your plate and let someone else manage it, very worthwhile investment. So I guess now that we've kind of nailed down who should be using it, basically anyone and everyone, am I too small to start using your service? Let's say I'm only selling a few $1,000s a month. Does it make sense to plug in with you guys?
Yeah, once again, it's free. A few points on that. We service. We kind of joke about it a little bit. We say we're an equal opportunity auditor. It's free to join, free to stay at any stage of your life cycle as a seller. We service the largest sellers in the world. That on aggregate they do over $1 billion in FBA revenue, all the way to the one that's a newbie just starting up their FBA account. They already plug into Gatita. So once the inventory hits their fulfillment centers, it's supervised. It's under management. So they have one less task to do because there's so many things you got to do today to become a successful seller. You got to source, you got to launch, you got to price, you got to do logistics, you got to strategize, you got to price. All these things you got to do. So stopping the whole train and auditing and going back and reconciling, it's like line item 72 and what you need to do, and nobody gets to line item 72. We all know that. That's
Right.
what we're kind of here to in a 5-10 minute setup, and you can really have a set it and forget it motion where we're 24/7, just focusing on making sure that your account is in good health and the inventory is in good health, and you're covered up whenever there's a discrepancy in which you're eligible. Once again, the keyword is eligible to get reimbursement for. We're not playing around. We're not trying to sneak or get you, squeeze money out of nobody. Just whatever you're eligible for, okay, according to the policies and rules. That's what we're committed for. And it makes sense because on a high level, we find out that the discrepancy rate on an annual basis ranges between 1 to 3% from your revenue. So if you do 100,000 a year on FBA, that can be $1 to $3,000 you got to reconcile and recover. If you do a million a year, that's 10 to 30,000, and on and on it goes. So in other words, for every 100 units you ship to Amazon's fulfillment center, between 1 to 3 units will experience a discrepancy throughout its life cycle. So small examples: you ship 1,000 units, Amazon, instead of receiving 1,000 units, they only receive 190, so 10 units are missing. That's a discrepancy rate. But once the units are inside Amazon's fulfillment centers, all of a sudden inside the centers, inside the bins, they get lost or damaged. But also between the centers, because Amazon might shift your products from Kentucky to California to Nevada to have a prime shipping spread. Units get lost. Also from the fulfillment centers to the consumers, not all the orders are executed properly or fulfilled properly. From the consumer back to Amazon with all the customer returns that we all love, right? The beloved customer returns and refunds. They also have issues there. Also from the fulfillment centers back to you, the seller, if you ever do FBA removal orders. So in all these logistics friction points with FBA, that's where our technology exists and our dedicated service team exists to make sure that if there's any issue, we float it up with accuracy, present it to Amazon in an amicable way to make sure that you recover that. And then hopefully once you take this cash flow you never imagined that's even available, and you reinvest into the business, you keep pushing forward. That's why our mantra and slogan is more than money back, it's the way forward. So we'll help you with the money back, but if you are smart enough and kind of do a capital allocation, reinvest the capital back in the business, and you can launch and buy more inventory and generate more sales, you're on the right flywheel. You're flying up instead of kind of flying down, because if you're not sophisticated enough or optimize your business at every single junction and point, somebody else will, and they're probably going to beat you in the long term race. So you got to source smart. You got to have a low overhead. You got to have the right team, the team that constantly learns and professionalizes. If you ever do advertising, make sure you do it efficiently. But also when you do auditing, make sure that it's done always, because it's really cash flow that comes in. It helps you really to propel forward. There's really no cost associated to it, and also goes to your bottom line. So if you have a healthy bottom line and you want to expand, maybe you get a lending, right? You want to get a loan from banks, stuff like that. So we found out that having money really helps grow businesses. So we have a little humble position with helping sellers, generate free cash flow.
One of the visuals that I often use with entrepreneurs when I'm kind of describing what it feels like to run your own business, and you've got all the moving parts. You mentioned the 72 items you got to keep an eye on, right? I often create the visual of a bathtub, and the water in the tub is your cash. And most of us as entrepreneurs, we love putting hoses into the top of the tub. Like that's what we do, and that's where we tend to focus. But I love those services like what you guys offer that are monitoring the bottom of the tub where the leaks are and plugging those leaks, right? And when
There
you
we
find
go.
a leak, you plug it. You're like, hey, this is how much water you're about to lose. And we just saved you. So we're going to keep a little piece of that money, but we just saved you. That's a beautiful business model. It's no risk at all. You don't have to be the one that crawls under the tub and plugs leaks. Let someone else do that for you. And this can be one of the bigger leaks. 1 to 3% is no joke. That's extra margin that you can, like you
Because
said.
it's from the top line, not from the bottom line. So if you
That's right.
generate a year 100 grand revenue, we recover, let's say 3%, right? From the top, that's $3,000. So if your net margin is, well, 5%, 10%, let's be generous, 10%. So your 10% is that's $10,000 your margin. We recover 3,000. That 30% bump to your bottom line. That's
Yeah.
very dramatic.
That's
It's
straight
almost like a
in.
10x
Yeah.
effect. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's a way to increase your net revenues 1 to 3%, just plugging you guys in, basically, right? To use round numbers. So yeah,
Yeah,
tremendous.
the nice thing about it is because Amazon lets you go back up to 18 months into the past to
Mhm.
recover that. So that's a very nice, generous thing that they're doing. So sellers, most sellers don't. I'm not even aware. Not even aware. But even if they were, they can't keep up with everything that's happening. So definitely, I highly encourage anybody to be on top of it and just there's plenty of services out there to do this. We happen to be one of them, but highly recommend optimize for that because it's yours. It belongs to you. Actually, I do use an analogy of money or my I'm only 39 years old, but I over the years I came across a certain wisdom point that I would like to share for a moment. So
Please do. Yeah.
yeah, over time I realized that there's kind of three layers of love for money. First layer is simple, everybody loves money, right? The second thing that people love, or layer, is that people have free money. For example, Jim, you have a friend, a 16-year-old kid, let's get older, a 21-year-old person walking down the street and they find $100 bill, they pick it up, they're happy. But if somebody jumps on them and grabs that $100 and runs away, easy come, easy go. It's free money. That's the second layer. So we got people have money, people have free money, but above all, people have their own money. So if that same 21-year-old person worked for 12 hours, cleaning tables in a restaurant, and they have that $100 in their pocket and they walk in the street and somebody jumps on them and takes that $100, they're not going to let him go. They're going to chase him and knock him down and
Yeah.
get that $100 back
Yeah. Yeah.
because it's
That hurts
there. It's
more.
different kind
Yep.
of love.
Yep.
So here's what sellers, I want you to take a moment and pivot. This is your money.
Yeah.
You took
Exactly.
your money, your whatever from your father, your mother, or your own cash. You bought inventory. It's your money that you bought in order to generate cash with it, but something happened to it. You just have to kind of reconcile and understand the numbers. We're happy to help you with that, and it's yours. You got to get it back, but it's convoluted because all the things happening, you don't realize that it's even gone, so you don't care. You're not as emotionally attached. But I'm here to make sure that it's yours. You should be emotionally attached because it's real capital you place into this. And here's the kicker: the beautiful thing is that you need to get the maximum reimbursements that you're eligible to receive, because if you don't, you lose two things. The first thing you lose is your investment, the money invested into it. But the second thing is your profit, because when Amazon pays you a reimbursement, they're doing something wonderful. They're paying you retail value, not cost. So if your cost of goods is $5, you want to sell for $30, they're paying you $30. So we're shifting a double negative to a double positive. You're getting your money you invested, the one you lost, $100 that
Hmm.
plus the profit, because that $100 that the 21-year-old person wanted to take and probably buy stocks or whatever, and we're fulfilling that promise of the capital allocation of that money that can generate that profit and free cash flow. So that's kind of another a very important thing that I want to sell us here, watching and or listening, to make that switch, realizing this is your money and that money is lucrative. So just take a
Yeah.
moment, do something about it, and you'll be in a better
Great
position.
illustration. And I've experienced that. I bought a handful. This has been a few years ago, and I had to handle the reimbursement on my own because it was a significant expense. I think I bought like 10 music related, like sound bars for TV sound bars is what it was.
Hmm.
Got them on sale. I paid about $150 each for them, and I was going to sell them for like 350, 400. Right.
Hmm.
The Amazon lost all 10 of them. I'm like, oh man, that's a lot of cash. Like I got to figure this thing out. So I did it through all the steps myself, got reimbursed, and they paid me the 350 or 400 per
3 to 4
unit.
grand. Yeah. Yeah. They paid you
Right.
3 4 grand collectively. Yeah.
So I was thrilled. Like, okay, couldn't have worked out better. It's like one customer bought them all the first day they shipped in from my vantage point, right? And Amazon does make things right like that. And they maybe found them at some point and then sold them to someone else, whatever. Who knows? I don't care, but I got my money as the seller. So yeah, great illustration, and I love where we're going. Well, I want to hear a little bit more about, you have a lot of clients in this space, obviously, everything from the little guys up to the larger, a lot of resellers, right? Which is a lot of our community. We've got the private label, the wholesale. We've got all the models in the community, but a lot of people start off reselling, and I know that's your background. So We spoke off air a little bit, but fill us in. You come from a reseller background. Actually, one of the, I think you said the CEO of your company is a reseller at heart who sold his company. So, tell me some of those stories just to encourage resellers today, kind of where the industry's going. Just take that ball and run with it for a moment.
Yeah, yeah. So I'll separate it to two dimensions. So let's make sure we don't forget the other one because I'm gonna start with the first one. The first one will be about how reselling is close to my heart, and we have a pretty interesting evolution within Gatita. How myself, even our investor and CEO Eitan has with it, with the reselling side. That's kind of the history. That's one dimension I want to touch, but then we'll go to the other dimension, which is where we are now and where things are going with reselling. So, back to Gatita, I made my fortune being an Amazon seller and mostly on the reselling model. We also have private label, but mostly on the reselling model. And Gatita was effectively born from our experience as Amazon sellers because over a decade ago, we started selling online. We had a website, we sold on eBay. But then in 2013, we started selling on Amazon and the business boomed really quickly from 0 to 20 million, then to 100 million. And what happened was we had so many FBA transactions to reconcile, we're not able to use spreadsheets anymore. They were breaking because it was too much data. And that kind of pushed us to do two things. The first thing was to create technology to audit and reconcile all the numbers at scale. But the second thing was to set up a dedicated team with responsible team members that this is the whole mission. Make sure we get the maximum reimbursement because at 100 million, that's 1 to 3 million that we have to reconcile and recover every year. That's material to have a airtight solution. That's what we did for ourselves. That was great. But then what happened was we told our friends from the industry we have these capabilities. They told us, help us, we'll pay you. And that was the early genesis of Gatita back in 2015. So necessity is the mother of invent. It's not like we woke up in the morning and said, hey, we have a great idea. It's just people kind of knocking on our door, and that opened up this pathway for us. So for 3-4 years, we're just kind of growing organically, word of mouth, because the value proposition was very simple, performance based. And then 2018, I believe, for 3 or 4 years in, we after we kind of already had a significant amount of clients. We said, we're probably onto something here. It seems like all these sales are going to getting good impact. That's when we kind of package the nerve and confidence to say, okay, let's go out to the market and go do a trade shows. Today we did, like last year we did over 150 worldwide. That's like 3 a week, but 218, the first one, it was a big thing for us. So we decided to go to sponsor the Prosper Show. The Prosper Show today, typically it's in every March, once a year in March, and it's in Las Vegas. Same thing was back in 2018. And once we opened our booth there and everything, one of the founders of the show, came to meet and greet us, and that happens to be Eitan Wiener. Prosper's a little history. It was Prosper Show was started by 4 gentlemen. It's James Thompson and Joe Henson, Eitan Wiener, and Chad Rubin. They eventually sold it to a public company. But in any case, Eitan came to say, hey, how are you? What's going on? What do you guys do? We said, oh, FBA reimbursement, stuff like that. He said, yeah, I tried them all, this and that. How are you special? How are you different? He said, we don't know. We could just try it out. So he did. And then boom, he had a nice impact. The recovery was pretty significant. He was a little also kind of shocked that all the other providers he had, they kind of left it behind. So he had a good experience. He was a reseller. Okay. And he was a reseller. That was his model. His model is before the model, I'll touch about in a moment. Let me just kind of continue the track there. He had a good experience with us. And then over the years, he kind of referred a few other sellers to us. So they had a good experience. And long story short, when he sold his Amazon business to a public company, and when he sold it, he kind of did some mathematics to see what was the impact of the reimbursement. And he realized that 14%, 14% of his net profit was coming from reimbursements, which
Wow.
was very, very significant. And during his exit,
14%.
14, yeah. So, and because he was in the reselling business, the margins were tight. I don't know about most of the community of the chat, but back then it was like it's razor thin margin, 3, 4, 5, up to maybe 10% if you're really amazing, like spectacular. But I think I don't know exactly where his margin was, but razor thin. So every percentage point is makes a big impact because you get a multiple. So every dollar you generate profit, you get a few dollars when somebody buys it off your hands. So every dollar we're able to recover, what meant it was multiplied in its value. So as a user, he had a good impact. When he sent out the users or sellers, he had a good impact. And when he then made an exit, it made a major impact on life because it was very, very material. Long story short, from this evolution of being, a client and a friend, and he sold, two companies, two public companies. One was a Prosper Show, which is a conference show, but the second one is his Amazon business. He had time and money in his hand. He kind of looked around, and it made sense for him to partner with us and become an investor and CEO because he created two world-class companies in the e-commerce space that both sold to public companies. So for us, it was like, yeah, this gentleman has a track record of creating something big and great. So we're happy to partner with him as well. So that kind of created this marriage where the background of reselling and the importance of healthy margins created us as Amazon sellers, but also kind of created us as Gatita with our commitment to this industry and community for for the past decade worldwide. So very close to our heart because margins are crucial. And I think also for I'm jumping a little bit to the future dimension. It's crucial for the resellers, but even more than ever now, also for the private label sellers, because all these fees and inflation are staggering up. And even the private label seller, which historically enjoyed very thick margins, those margins are being squeezed, and they got to find effective ways to improve those. And definitely reimbursements is still one effective way, because you're going to make one decision. I want to maximize my reimbursement, and that can be done. You have to invest in anything. You don't have to invest 10 grand, 100 grand, and buy inventory. Make decision. I want to maximize it. You partner with Getida. We go back 18 months. Boom, we flush it with cash, whether a reseller or a private label seller. But the importance of margin is making its way into importance with that business model. So back to the first dimension, reselling. Aton had a reselling model, and his model was he was able to create relationship with big known brands. It was mostly, I think, in the sound systems and electronics and accessories. And so he was able to get those accounts and resell them with agreed pricing. But also he was able to create bundles of them, special dedicated bundles. And for some of them, I think he also created his own brand as an accessory. So let's say there's a sound set who has a main device, and then it needs some cables or accessories around it. So you make your own branding with the big brand and create these unique bundles nobody else has, and you create this value packed bundle where it sells nicely, and he sold in the tens of millions of dollars of revenue, which was very very material, and it generated really healthy, sustainable, predictable cash flow. And he was able to package all that and sell it to a public company, because at the end of the day, in business, if you're able to create an organization or a machinery that creates free cash flow in a consistent, predictable way, you can have a good asset in your hand for years and years to come. And that's a great thing to have. And if you want to have that, and most of us want to have that, it means that somebody else probably also is willing to have that, and they're willing to pay good money to have that in their hands. So as you are building your business, or you already built your business, always have that in mind, that I want to simplify my business, make sure it's predictable, and you have less volatility as possible. And if you have that in your hands and it's generating free cash flow, you're a good spot. And hopefully you'll have the many years to come with God's blessing. But of course, if you have that blessing, somebody else will like to, have that, and they're willing to pay for that. So always have that in mind, because it's, I think the past 2, 3 years or 4 years, the spotlight became into making an exit with the brands, but definitely momentum and ability to do that with the reselling if you make it in a smart way.
Yeah, love it. There's a lot of little nuggets that you just revealed, and I'm going to restate them in my own words for the listening audience, because they've heard some themes around here that I've mentioned many times in the past. For example, that reselling is an on ramp into the world of Amazon, but it's not. We shouldn't diminish it as a lesser model. It can be automated, systemized, and built into something, an asset that can be sold to someone else. That's the whole point of creating systems, is what we often refer to it as, right? It sounds like that's exactly what Anton did at scale. He was a reseller who scaled to the tens of millions, sold to a public company, had a beautiful exit, but reselling was the heart and soul. And you mentioned what we call around here branded bundles, right? You've got a common recognized brand that everyone already knows what it is, and it's in household name, perhaps sold in retail stores, that you mix your own unique components with that. Now you've got an ASIN that, you know, can't be competed with, basically, because no one else has those unique components. That's one
It's
of the strategies
differentiated.
we
Yeah,
teach here.
differentiated. Mhm.
Yeah, exactly. So now you've carved out your own territory, and you are building an asset. You've built a system, and that's what we teach around here. And you guys can be a big part of that. Gatita can be a big part of that for any seller, because if you're sending in inventory and people are touching it, it's getting lost. Reimbursements are going to be needed, and that's just free money back in your pocket. It's your money, like you said. It's not money you found on the street. This is money that someone else has that you already earned, and you need to have someone in place to watch your back and make sure you get those funds. I love it. I love the story of your company. I feel like I'm getting to know you guys a little bit better. I didn't realize how overlapped the stories were, because we love the resellers in this community. This podcast, we've got hundreds of episodes of our show, and the vast majority where we've interviewed success stories, and I'd say 95% of them are reseller success stories. If they're not still there, that's certainly where they started. And so we see a very bright future for that. I'm glad to hear you echoing those sentiments that, there's a lot here still. New brands being introduced constantly. I see this landscape exploding. I've got to think you're forecasted for growth. Amazon continues to grow and scale. You're in the right business, tie into Amazon. But let me ask you this: do you guys help with any other? You said you got a pretty narrow focus. Are you guys like Walmart reimbursements or anything like that? In the future, are you guys just all in on Amazon?
Amazon FBA, yeah, because we are auditing tens of billions of dollars, but there's hundreds of billions of dollars to kind of audit. So
Right.
every year we grow, but Amazon still grows as well. So we're always playing that catch up. And we do have strategic partners for other types of auditing if needed. So here's the philosophy behind it. We have a large user base, and there's always a temptation to kind of add more and more and
Right.
upsell.
Right.
But we instead of that, we kind of push those temptations aside. The past decade, thinking we're going to compound our ability to deliver more and more in our core competency.
Specialize.
And if
Yep.
yeah, and if we specialize it, because if not really number one or two or three best in the world at those other things, I don't want to upsell something that is not top tier. Instead of
Yeah.
that, I'd rather identify the best players in the world, saying
Yes.
they're a strategic partner. You should
Mhm.
go there. They'll
Mhm.
have they'll take care of you. And
Yep.
this way, we have a holistic approach where everything we kind of touch with you, along with you in partnership, you feel the impact, and it's impactful. It's a good feeling. It's a good vibe, a good energy. You stick around for a while because some of our clients are around since 8 and 9 years, and that's an amazing journey. Some of them started as small resellers and matured and evolved over the years. They're still in business, and they start from tens of thousands to hundreds of thousands to a few million and tens of millions. That's a beautiful journey that we constantly see the resellers or the private label sellers. So we definitely see this as an adventure, long-term journey with this seller community. A few more stats on the future, current state and future. I think e-commerce in general in the United States, it's maybe what 16, 17% of total retail.
Right.
I can, happy to bet my arms and legs that this number will simply grow. It has to grow. So it's going to be from 17 to 18, 19, 20, 25. I don't know where, in the next decade or two. It has to happen because the younger generation is the one that is going to be shopping more and more, and they're just digital native. Because right now we're kind of between the gaps of, the people are, let's say 80 plus, 70 plus, 60 plus, they're a bit more kind of old school, even though a lot of them got pushed to use e-commerce because of
COVID.
COVID,
Yeah.
right? And that kind of pushed the industry 5 years into the future. But all the ones that kind of they're just getting born or they're in their early teens, they're native to that. So for them to go and take a car and park and buy this and go compare from that, it's just inefficient. It's just foreign to them. They're just instead of going to scroll, tick, tick, and click and get everything. So and they're gonna have more and more money. They're gonna enter their careers and making more money. So it has to grow. Simple kind of napkin, calculations, back of the napkin calculations, and also the pie chart of or the difference between reselling and private label. So in the early days, 20 plus years ago, when Amazon started, the power was with the resellers, right? It was close to 100%. Amazon wanted the big brands. They wanted the Sonys. They wanted the Nikes, whatever can get, whatever sellers can get their hands on and add to this book platform that became the everything store. That was the early journey there. So, and then slowly but surely, sellers realize, oh, there's so much traffic built in. I can just, maybe I'll go to Alibaba or factories in China and make my white label or private label, whatever they want to call it, because they're already kind of built in traffic and master the search terms because Amazon is really a search box, that you can, you can twist and manipulate all these things. So long story short, today I think the both models grew. I don't think there wasn't a single year that both models shrunk in total numbers. And meaning, if 15 years ago you had 100,000 resellers and 20,000 private label sellers, today you have probably it's 78, it's 70-30, meaning 70% I think are private label, 30% are private label sellers. But in total numbers, there's still more and more, and they're just growing. So although there's more, kind of a private label action, they're both kind of growing. So that's good news on all sides. That's why even having this hybrid between the branded stuff and the branded bundles is
The
like the
branded
perfect.
bundles. Right.
Yeah, the branded bundles is like the perfect mix where you kind of riding the tails of the big guys of the billion-dollar brands or hundreds of million-dollar brands, and if that catches fire and becomes this obvious second, this obvious choice for these kind of products, you can find yourself within 5, 10 years with an established brand. Like, for the best laces for Nikes are, I'm just saying to simplify it, right? It's your stuff, or the best plugin for whatever, it's your stuff. You never know what the future leads, but I think that's an interesting direction to have. And that direction, brought Aiton to sell his company to a public company because he was able to do that bundling properly. So where we're at today is 70-30, both it might be that it's going to be 80-20. It doesn't really matter because both business models will simply in total share of business owners and sellers out there will simply continue growing because e-commerce is growing and Amazon is on the forefront.
Yeah.
So that's my
They're
humble
almost half,
prediction.
That's the only thing I would add to the numbers you shared with us. Of where
Every
17,
dollar
18%.
generated in e-commerce in the United States, yeah, about 50 cents goes to Amazon,
Yeah,
and they're not backing
that's
down.
incredible. Yeah, and
Mhm.
the future is very bright. Walmart's hanging on to their coattails a little bit, gaining some ground, but Amazon is the place to be, which is why we teach Amazon. Sometimes I'm asked, Jim, why do you talk so much about Amazon? There's 1,000 ways to make money online. I'm a fan of all of them. If it's a legitimate business, providing a valuable service to happy customers at a profit, I'm in, right? When it comes to e-commerce. Why Amazon? Well, because like you said, they're 50 cents of every dollar.
Input,
Like,
output. Yeah, you start there. Once you cover your grounds well, then you
yep,
can, consider
expand.
expanding. But cover that ground first, and then see where it
Yeah.
takes you, and then have considerations. But don't get distracted because there's a lot of work ahead of you.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah. It takes surrounding yourself with the right people, and I'm honored to add you guys onto our team. I consider the partners and the sponsors that we bring to our events to be part of our team, and because these are people we've vetted, we've had conversations with, and there's competing services out there, and everyone's trying to win the customers, but to date we haven't had a service like yours that we've brought to the community, and I'm proud to say we're bringing you guys in first. This is our 12th event for Amazon sellers, and we've never had a recovery service there. You guys are the ones we wanted there, so we sought you out, and
Thank
we're
you.
just
Humbled.
thrilled to bring you to the community, man.
Silent Jim indeed. I know you did this so silently for 12 years without, we look underground to help communities, and this was surprisingly and refreshingly silent, and it's all in good time. So we appreciate it.
Absolutely, man. Well, it's a pleasure working with you, and like I said, see you here in just a few weeks. And for the listeners today, one of the action steps you need to take that costs you absolutely nothing is to get over to today's episode, the show notes. Silentjim.com will have a link to all the references that we made today, and one of them is going to be that special offer that puts $400 in your pocket from Gatita. Just let them review your account, let them see the history, and find some of your money that's sitting in Amazon's bank account. They want to get it for you, so let them do that. And then be sure to stop by their booth at our conference here, May 23rd through 25th. The Proven Conference is the website, and say hey to Yoni and the team and whoever else represents Gatita this year. And I think you guys have a session as well. I can't remember for sure, but we have lots of opportunities to connect with your team during the event and ask any questions there. So, well, thanks. Any final thoughts of encouragement for the listeners who've joined us today? Anything else on your heart, man? It's been a pleasure getting to know you a little more and hearing the story and the background of your company. Any
Thank you.
final
Thank you.
thoughts?
Yeah, thank you again for having us. Just work hard, focus, have faith, and I mean the triple F is the easy one. With Rabbi Danny Lapin. I can if I can borrow just your friends, family, fitness, finance, and faith. Just make sure you're focused on them in a good way, and just work hard, and it will take you to wonderful places. By being in this community already with Silent Gym and the proven concept, you can't get it wrong. So much blessings to everybody.
Appreciate the encouragement, and God bless you, my friend, as well. And again, thank you for the partnership and the friendship. Can't wait to see you guys here very soon. We'll have you back on the show too. Appreciate your great encouragements today. Talk to you soon.
Thank you.
Bye for now.